If you're familiar with my blog, Classroom Games and Tech, then you might have seen my creativity games. I have several on the site on this page. Recently, I took one of them. It's called Why Did the Chicken? And I made it as a Google Slides presentation so that it works with Google Tools. If you scroll down on that post, you could click here and you'd get a copy of that in your Google Drive. I have it here. And this is the slide that you usually would have up as you're playing this with the class. So I was thinking, why don't I just take the whole process of these creativity games and make them work with Google Tools. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. To set the stage for this, I'll just kind of go through how the game works. Normally what happens is the teacher will make a random riddle, and then 3 to 5 students in the classroom, which I call contestants, will try to make a funny response to that riddle. And in the other creativity games, it might not be a riddle, but they'll make a response, and those responses will be put here. Then the class will vote on which one of those that they liked best. So this is how I would run the whole game with Google Tools. I made a classroom class called Creativity Game, and you could add all your students to that. It's through here that you're going to run the vote when they get to that part. Then in Google Drive, I suggest making a new folder. You could click New and select Folder, and I called it Sample Creativity Game. You could call it whatever you want. In that folder, I first of all have that presentation, Why Did the Chicken? And that's just so I can easily find it if I need it. Then I also made 3 Google documents. You can right click and just select Google Doc to make a new one. And I called it Student 1 Answers, Student 2 Answers, and Student 3 Answers. In this example, we're going to assume that I have 3 contestants. Eventually, we will share these with the students so they can easily get their answers to us. Also, what we need to add in here is a form, which is kind of like a survey. So right click in here and select More, and then Google Forms. And the reason that I'm going through this in a little more detail than the other components is because they recently updated Google Forms, and I want to show all the different things that you need to do. Now you're going to use this form to get the votes from the class. So let's just call this form Riddle number 1. And if you click up here after you change the name, it will copy the same name up here to the form. And since this is going to be given to the class, they're picking their favorite answer. You'll say, which is your favorite answer? And that would be one of the answers to the riddle. Now, we don't actually put the answers down here. We don't even know what the students are going to give for answers yet. But what you could do is just put A, B, and C. And again, this is because I have only 3 students that are going to be contestants. If I had 4 students, I would put A, B, C, and D. There's one other setting that you'll need to look at. Click up here in the settings icon, and you're going to want to limit this to only 1 response from the students. And that will require them to log in. You do that because you don't want them to vote multiple times. That's the only thing you need to change on the settings. Save that. And now you've got this ready for when you need it. We're not going to do anything else with it right now. In fact, I can close it. And I want to go back to that folder, and you can see now I have riddle 1. Let's say that in the class we know we're going to do at least 3 riddles. So what I would do is right click on that form that I did, and then we're going to make a copy of that. And let's rename it to riddle number 2. And then copy that again and rename it to riddle number 3. We will need to go in and change the title on those as well. But for right now, we at least have the riddles ready to go. Then in Classroom, what I like to do is set that up as an assignment ahead of time. So I'm going to make a new assignment, I'm going to call this again riddle number 1. And what I'm going to attach to this from my drive, here's the sample creativity game folder. I go in here and I select riddle number 1. I'm going to attach that to that assignment. And I don't want to assign this yet because I don't want the students to vote before they even know what the responses are. So I'm going to click on this down arrow and just select the option to save the draft. Now I would do that with each one of the questions that are going to come up. So I'll just do it right now for question number 2. Click create assignment. This is riddle number 2. We pick from drive, sample creativity game folder. Here's riddle number 2 form. And I am going to assign this later, so I save it as a draft. And you could do this with riddle number 3 as well. If you don't know how many you're going to get to in class, just make maybe 4 copies and see how it goes. You could always make one on the fly if you needed to.